It is time for the All-Star Break episode. For those that are unaware, this is a stats episode. This is when we get up to the All-Star Break and we go over how our team has been doing. We take a look around the league at the standings and some of the league leaders, and we go over who made the All-Star teams and just basically catching up how the league has gone so far through the first half of the year. So starting things off with the standings around the league. In the National League East, the Braves lead that division, but the Nationals are actually in second place, only 4.5 games back. Somehow, the Nationals, NL Central, Brewers have a half-game lead on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're in third, but we're not in third in like a competitive third. We're in a third in more of a us, Pirates, and Cubs are all really bad at baseball sort of way. Then in the National League West, you've got the Dodgers, who have half-game lead on the Giants, and the Padres are still in the mix as well. Moving on to the American League, you've got the Yankees, who are sitting in first place, and the Red Sox have been making a serious push heading into the All-Star break as they are 2 games back and on a 10-game win streak. And then in the Central, it's another tight race as the Twins are in the lead, Guardians only a half game behind them, and then even the White Sox are only 2 games back out of first place as well. And then in the West, you've got the Angels, who are sitting pretty with an 8-game lead. And then the Astros, the usual suspects who lead the division, are actually below 500 and 13 games out of first place. And now let's dive into some of the Reds stats, take a look at how some of our players have been doing. On the hitting side of things, Tommy Pham has been the most impressive Cincinnati Red as far as hitters go, absolutely by far. 806 OPS is the highest on the team, 19 home runs, 28 stolen bases. I mean, he's basically guaranteed to have a 20-20 season, but at this point by now, he could even have a 30-30 season. Only needs 2 more stolen bases, and he could very easily get up to 30 home runs in the second half of the season. And then he's also got 101 hits for us, just boosting that trade value for us when it gets dealt at the deadline. Then we've got Mike Moustakas with a 741 OPS, 19 home runs. He's actually tied for the team lead in that category with Tommy Pham. Then we got Jonathan India, who got off to a slow start but is turning things around. 756 OPS, 15 home runs, 8 swiped bags. We got Joey Votto, who's also got off to a slow start and is now very much turning things around. 849 OPS, 16 home runs, and is doing his OBP thing, where he's got a 382 OBP. Not quite 400, but still very impressive. Tyler Naquin has also been having a solid year, helping that trade value. And despite Aristides Aquino getting off to a very hot start to the season, he was basically the only Red hitter who was hitting at the start of the year. He's been ice cold for a while now. He's got a sub-700 OPS, which is obviously not good. And he's going to continue to get ABs for us with this roster just because we don't really have anybody who can play over him. And we're just going to see if he can turn it around in the second half, because he is a guy who, ideally, if he can figure out how to, at least have a decent OBP and hit for power more consistently than he's doing right now, he is a guy who is valuable to have. And then let's also talk about his arm. We've seen it, what he can do, and he's done it in a few games already. I mean, the guy is a cannon in right field. He can throw people out super easily. And then another disappointing bat has been Tyler Stevenson, who just hasn't been what I hoped he would be. I mean, he's a guy who I'm looking at as a potential first base replacement for Votto when he retires. But, I mean, he can't be a first baseman if he's going to have a sub-700 OPS. Currently on the IL as well. He broke his collarbone a few days before the All-Star break. So we're going to be heading into the second half with Mark Colesberry on our team as the catcher. I know I said his name was like Kolasevary or something, but it turns out it's not that. It's actually Colesberry. Because of course it is. Polish names. And then last but not least for the hitters, there is Jake Fraley, who not hitting for power, but decent OBP, and that's what he does. Now moving on to the pitcher side of things, we've got Hunter Green, who has been the best pitcher on the staff so far this season. You would not be able to tell that based on the starts that I've used him in games, because I just can't figure out how to use him effectively in games for whatever reason. I mean, it's probably because he's just so wild and I can't really locate anything, and that's what I like to do, is I like to pinpoint stuff on the corners, and that's why I usually have good performances with Melee and Lodolo and precision guys, because I can just throw soft stuff on the corners and work that weak contact, where like even with Hunter Green throwing 101, if you blow that 101, if it's down the middle, guys are going to crush it. But with that being said, in the sim, he is performing very well with an ERA and a FIP in the threes, 1.9 WAR, highest on the team among pitchers. Then you got Tyler Mahle, who has a 3.29 ERA, very solid. Bit misleading, though, as he has a 4.77 FIP. But then again, we are trying to build a team that is built around speed and great defense, so having guys like that who do have a good ERA, but their FIP is a little bit misleading. Definitely not bad to have a 4.77 FIP. It's not like an awful FIP. It's not great either. But I mean, guys that, induce soft contact, can work ground balls, get lucky because of their defense. I mean, if we're going to build a great defense, those are the types of guys that are going to benefit from being in our staff. Nick Lodolo, another one of those guys. He's got a 2.99 ERA and then a 4.53 FIP. He's a soft contact guy, so it makes sense. Then we have Luis Castillo, who has an ERA and a FIP, both in the threes. He's been very solid. Probably would have a higher WAR than Green if he didn't miss the first month this season. Then there's Mike Minor, who's been fine. He's about what I would have expected him to be. Starting pitching hasn't really been this team's issue. Pitching in general really hasn't been this team's issue. It's just been, we can't hit. Now, if we take a look at some of the bullpen guys, the most innings among relief pitchers with 57 2/3 is Jeff Hoffman. He's actually been quite solid, not striking out as many guys as you would want from a reliever, but still quite solid for Jeff Hoffman, the upstate New York guy. Then we got Tony Santillan. I personally like him a lot. Is it because he warms up the Cody Jinks? Possibly, but I think he's also a pretty good pitcher. Hasn't been that great in the sim, but could be worse. Lucas Sims has been a very typical solid reliever, 10.29 K per 9, 4.89 walk per 9, has that psycho closer vibe he's got going for him, so big fan of guys like that. Then we got Hunter Strickland, who is the most interesting pitcher on the staff because he's the soft contact king. He's got an ERA that's finally just now barely above 1 at a 1.08, and his K per 9 is at 4.32, which is just hilarious. The guy is just working nothing but ground balls with that sinker-slider combo he's throwing. And then another veteran on the staff that we have is Justin Wilson, the left-hander, who has been solid for us. Then there is Justin Dunn, who has pitched 27 1/3 innings out of the bullpen since returning from his injury. Definitely walking a good amount of batters as well, but that is to be expected with him. But he's still been effective even with those walks. Then not last but not least, but we have Ross Detweiler as the second lefty in the bullpen. Actually been really solid in 25 1/3 innings, a 10.3 K per 9, a sub-5 walks per 9, 3.22 FIP, 2.84 ERA. I mean, the old man is getting it done. And when I say old man, I mean this guy made his MLB debut in 2007. In 2007, I was like a 6'11" in Little League, and A-Rod hit 54 home runs while walking up to This Is Why I'm Hot. And then basically the one reliever who has been really bad for us has been Luis Cessa with a 7.13 FIP, a negative WAR. I mean, no other way to say it, he's been bad. Now if we take a look around the league, we've got the league leaders in the National League. The hits leader, Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates with 118, leads the league. But then you got Pham in the top 8 for hits as well. Runs was Max Muncy leads the league. Then you got a bunch of Braves and Dodgers all over that list. The walks leader is actually Bryce Harper, but then you've got Votto, who is tied with Olsen and Muncy for 4th, so shout out Joey Votto there. Stolen base leader is Tommy Pham with his 28. The home run leader is Ronald Acuna, who has 28 home runs on the season. You also got Jock Peterson and Max Muncy, and then Hunter Renfroe and Daniel Vogelbach on there. The Brewers actually have 2 guys in Hunter Renfroe and Rowdy Tellez on that list. The OPS leader is, of course, Ronald Acuna, the only man in the National League with a 4-digit OPS, and then he also leads the National League in WAR among hitters, an entire win more than Brian Reynolds, who is in 2nd place. And then for the pitching side of things, probably one of the biggest reasons why this Nationals team has been overachieving so much is that Steven Strasburg is just achieving like the form he was in college at San Diego State, where he's got a sub-2 ERA for the Nationals, and what is he, like 35 at this point? He's also leading the National League in innings pitched, so I mean, The guy's just been an absolute workhorse for the Nationals this season. The strikeout leader is Jacob deGrom, who has a 1 strikeout lead on Corbin Burnes of the Brewers. And then Corbin Burnes leads the league, tied with Strasburg with 7 complete games. The saves leader is Giovanni Gallegos, and then we have Lucas Sims on that list as well with a respectable 25 in the top 5. And then the WAR leader is Jacob deGrom. While on the American League side of things, on the offense, hits leader is Xander Bogaerts. The runs leader is Trout with an absolutely huge lead at 72 runs scored. The doubles leader is Aaron Judge, but right behind him is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Bit of a surprise there. And then after that, you pretty much have the entire Angels lineup. As far as stolen bases go, it's Nicky Lopez leading the league of the Kansas City Royals. The home run leader with 30 already at the All-Star break is Mike Trout. And then just a massive lead with a 455 OBP, a 740 slugging. The next highest guy is Aaron Judge with a 591. He has a 740 slugging. And then, of course, he leads in OPS as well with a 1.194 OPS. He almost has a 1.2 OPS. So, of course, Mike Trout also leads in WAR. He already has 2.6 WAR. He has more WAR than that. He has a 2.6 win lead on the second place guy in Yasmani Grandal, which is just, he's been insane. And then the Angels aren't just hitting with Trout and other guys, they've got pitching too, as Patrick Sandoval is the ERA leader in the American League. The strikeout leader is Shane Bieber, then you got Ohtani right behind him. The innings leader is Kevin Gausman. In real life, he finally just walked the batter like a couple days ago, and it's May 15th as I'm recording this. And then you get the saves leader, who is John King of the Texas Rangers. And then the WAR leader for pitchers is tie between Patrick Sandoval and Kevin Gausman. And then you've also got Tariq Skubal and Eddie Rodriguez of the Tigers, both there in the top 5 for pitcher WAR. But now we'll move things on to taking a look at the All-Star teams. These are just going to be scrolling by on your screen, but just some notables of guys who you wouldn't normally expect to be on these teams in the National League. You've got Bailey Falter, reliever from the Phillies, as the only one normal reliever who's not a closer. Lucas Sims, though, did make it as a closer. Jacob Stallings, catcher of the Marlins, made it. Seth Beer, the OOTP legend on the team. Garrett Hampson of the Rockies made it, O'Neill Cruz of the Pirates, and then Tommy Pham was the starter in left field. Well, on the American League side of things, you had Corey Kluber actually making it with a resurgence with the Tampa Bay Rays. Gary Sanchez back in the All-Star game as the Twins catcher, Bearded Gary. Ty France at first base for the Seattle Mariners, Andres Jimenez for the Guardians, and then somehow old man Elvis Andrus made it with the Oakland A's, and then we also had Benintendi making it with his 400 OBP. And now, just before we wrap things up, I do want to give you a little bit of an insight onto what we're going to be looking to do in next episode, which will be including the trade deadline. So if we take a look at the trade block, these are all guys who I'm 100% going to be looking to trade at the deadline in the next episode. We're going to be holding on to Tyler Mahle and Luis Castillo and either deal them in the offseason or next season at the deadline, but we are going to keep them through the rest of this season at the very least. As far as Moustakas goes, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get rid of him, but we're definitely going to be trying to. Then you got Pham, Naquin, Mike Minor, all should be guys who are going to be able to get us some decent prospects. Donovan Solano, Justin Wilson, and Hunter Strickland, though, those are guys that we'll just have to see what they're going to be able to get for them. But those are guys that I do want to get off the roster and open up spots for different guys to get playing time. So that'll wrap things up here for this edition of the Cincinnati Reds franchise here on MLB The Show 22, the All-Star Break edition. So next episode, like I said, will be one game before the trade deadline. Then I'll be showing the trades that happened, and then I'll be showing 2 games after the trade deadline. So with that being said, that's going to wrap things up. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I am saying, the Boston Celtics.